Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Now, we were supposed to do a bonus video for Gojira yesterday, and it got blocked, unfortunately. So we're going to do what we always do with these blocked videos, and I'm going to create this sort of intro to let you know it's blocked, and then we're going to skip the reaction and move on to the analysis segment. If you're still interested in watching the reaction, there's a link in the description for the full unedited video that was supposed to be uploaded but was blocked. So if you'd like, you can go to the Google Drive, watch that, and then drop your comments below this video, or you can just watch the analysis segment if that's all that you're interested in. Either way, it works. I mostly make these so that there's a centralized area for comments to be, and so that people can find it via YouTube search. With that said, enjoy the reaction and the analysis, whichever ones you choose to watch, and hopefully we'll have some pretty cool discussions down in the comment section. So yeah, that was some really cool stuff there. It's really interesting how they sort of find this middle ground between what I would say is maybe more traditional hard rock and gent. Would you guys agree that that is gent, the more rhythmic aspects to this track? Um, but yeah, I feel like they have this medium between something like Five Finger Death Punch, maybe a harder rock radio track, and or maybe Disturbed, Five Finger Death Punch, something in that area, mixed with some of the more technical aspects that we would find in gent bands, and kind of driving all that home with an extra rugged metaliness that I would say kind of derives from the vocals, which are a bit rougher than I think we would typically find on a radio rock band. And they sort of tie all this together in a phenomenal package that is, like I said, it's almost it's a highly marketable metal, right? It teeters on that edge between hard rock and technical, or at least rhythmic metal. Maybe not necessarily technical metal. And they do a very good job towing that line, keeping the song accessible while also sort of playing around with some less accessible elements. And they do a phenomenal job at sort of bringing all that together. Let's see. So the the more radio hard rock kind of stuff doesn't hit me as hard as some of the more technical aspects. That's just a taste thing, a bias thing. For instance, the verse it works. It does its job. I think it does what it's there to do very well. It's just not something that speaks strongly to me. His vocals, I think, are kind of the thing that pull me out there. It's not my type of vocal style, um, and it's missing a lot of melodic aspects. Even his voice, which is note-based despite being harsh, tends to sort of hover around the same 3 or 4 notes. And while there is melody, it is technically a melody line. I wouldn't classify it as a strong one, and that is fine. I'm not I say this often. I'm not bad mouthing the band or trying to bring them down or tell them that they're making bad music or anything like that. It's just not my typical music, something I would go out of my way to listen to. However, I think the chorus is phenomenal. It builds into a very interesting atmosphere. We have some really nice melodic and harmonic work. It is the beginning of the introduction of more rhythmic elements with that drum fill that starts hitting on, I mean, just does some really cool things, working in some triplet elements and hitting on offbeat accents at the end of the riff, the end of the pattern. And the whole thing just kind of comes together for me. It widens the track. It gives it a much bigger feel. The melodic aspects there, like I said, we get some harmonies in the vocals as well, and it really ties everything together very well. Um, we kind of bounce back and forth between verse and chorus, and then we enter into what would be the breakdown or the bridge. In, I guess the closest analogy might be the gent aspect. It reminds me of a less technical Meshuggah in this. I know I bring them up a lot, but this one's actually pertinent. Um, the way that their instruments are toned, the notes that they're going for, the low tones, as well as just the raw heaviness, it really feels like something Meshuggah could play with their instruments if they were to cover somebody that was not as technical as they write. Um, the sound, the tone, the textures feel like Meshuggah's work there, and maybe that's just me. I don't know if anybody else hears that, but I do. And then, like I said, it's a little bit of a less technical aspect. There's not a lot of ridiculous phrasing in there and accents. It's more about just kind of well, like I mentioned, there's a lot of landing on the beat, but with some grace notes to give it a chug feel without really removing the headbanging aspect. And I like that. I don't think I bring up grace notes too often on this channel. Um, it's usually something relegated towards more melodic stuff. Usually, when we're looking for some more fluid legato stuff, we might talk about some grace notes that help the flow of an otherwise more simple writing. Like here, we stick with quarter notes and use some grace notes to kind of elevate it and embellish the melody a little bit. But here they're used purely for the rhythmic element, and I think that's interesting. I'm trying to think of many times in music that I've played or have heard of in sort of the classical realm, where pickup notes or grace notes, either one, are kind of used for a rhythmic function over a melodic one to sort of round out or accent off a melodic line musically. And I'm kind of drawing a blank here. I doubt this is the first time I've heard it. I doubt this is the only time it exists. But I'm just kind of drawing a blank. So it's really cool to hear it used purely for its rhythmic function. And I dig that. Anytime a band can get me to bring up something and say, I don't think I've ever heard that before, that is good writing right there as far as I'm concerned. Utilizing tools that are well known, that everybody has access to in ways that I've never heard before is pretty cool. So, yeah. And then I don't typically talk about song composition too often, the format that the song is in, other than when we have the two extremes, which are like straight up verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. Or the other extreme, which be a rhapsody, where we are just always moving to a new idea and never returning to one. And I think these guys found an interesting middle ground there. Definitely still leaning closer to more of the standard popular convention of ABABCB, but throwing in a couple of unusual things like pre-choruses and utilizing pre-choruses not always before a chorus, bringing back the bridge at the end. So it's sort of like an ABABCBC. So yeah, they played around with convention a little bit, and the the song format is a little unique for that, and I dig that as well. However, from a casual listening point of view, this is not something I would typically go out of my way to listen to. I would not turn it off. Like I said, that chorus rocks. I love it. I could listen to that chorus. Well, all day might be an over exaggeration. I could listen to the chorus for a while. It is good, especially in contrast to the rest of the track. I think it does a beautiful job of, like I said, widening it, giving it a larger scope, and sort of providing a bit of tension release. There's still a lot of tension in there, but it's not as tense as the chugs and just the flat out heaviness of the rest of the song. It has a little bit of levity to it. So yeah, like I said, I would not turn it off. There's parts in here I enjoy. But overall, like I said, it's not something I would necessarily go out of my way to listen to. However, this compared with Art of Dying, I am intrigued. Like I said, they walk a pretty fine line between hard rock and metal. And I'd almost say that they make a pretty good gateway band. If you've only listened to radio rock, I think this would be a really good introduction to some of the more fringe metal stuff that doesn't get, airtime. Unless you got Sirius XM, because I guess they have a metal station. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of boggles my mind. I'm just so used to local radio stations, and they play what's profitable, and that typically means your big rock band names, the guys who are doing your festivals, your Shikedowns, and Godsmack. I'm probably dating myself. I don't know what's on the radio these days. Last time I read. Okay, I'm rambling. We're gonna move on. We're gonna finish this guy up. Those are my thoughts on Gojira. This is where you guys come in. Now hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of Gojira's Born for One Thing. And if there's any other Gojira songs I should be checking out. Bent Knee came out just before this, so if you follow the channel and you've been wanting Bent Knee forever and somehow you missed it, it's on the channel now. You should go check it out. I finally checked it out. Love that stuff. And tomorrow we will be starting the special selection week that should have started this week on Monday. So we're catching up slowly. We're 4 or 5 days behind now. Yeah, today's Friday, so we're 5 days behind. We're gonna get caught up soon. Middle of next week, we should be caught up. As long as I can stick to these 2 videos a day. All right. So with that said, if you could go ahead and like, subscribe, ring the bell, that kind of stuff. There's links in the description if you're interested in any of that. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, with the aforementioned special selection stuff. And yeah. So until next time, remember to be critical and not cynical of the music you listen to. And have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.